We have a blockbuster Cowboys trade incoming as a writer just revealed an insane move for Dallas to land a running back and an expiring contract that would immediately take him to the RB1 position for the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome in here to Cowboys Digest. I'm Jace Andrews. I certainly do appreciate you joining us. If you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? We're giving out daily content here on your Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about it. Running back has been a big position for us here on the channel, and now a new guy on the trading block. Cowboys are predicted to acquire Breece Hall in a blockbuster trade with the New York Jets. Now, there's a couple things we have to start with here to kind of give some backstory on Breece Hall and backstory on the Dallas Cowboys. The first thing we have to talk about is this Cowboys running back room. We know they signed Javonte Williams. We know they signed Miles Sanders. We'll talk more about them in this video, but that is not exactly an RB1 that you want, either of those guys. It's more of an running back by committee is kind of what I've been calling it. That's the best way I can see this team going about it. And then for Breece Hall, he's on his last year of his rookie contract. The Cowboys, who have said multiple times they're looking for a long-term solution at running back, Breece Hall would be a perfect candidate. And for the New York Jets, they just hired a brand new head coach. Yes, he likes Breece Hall, but in the same tone, you also have to look at this and know that if the Jets are not in a playoff spot come November, then Breece Hall is on the trading block. ESPN mentioned that today, and that's where we go into our report. But first, kind of going back into some more backstory here with Bryce Lazenby of the Sporting News saying, quote, "Before the 2025 season begins, though, the team could still make a big move or two. For example, running back Breece Hall is a player who could be a trade candidate at some point per ESPN's Rich Cimini." So that's a good thing right there. We know that he is potentially a trade candidate. And I have these trade videos talking about the running backs. I think if the Cowboys make a trade before the season starts, it probably won't likely be for a running back. I think it's probably going to be for maybe a defensive lineman or somebody on the defensive side. Because if you look at the Cowboys roster, they can trust their running back room a little bit, especially when the rest of their offense is so full and so good. So in that aspect, if one of these running backs comes out and balls out, Javonte, Miles Sanders, Jaydon Blue, then they don't need to trade for running back. However, it could be a very good thing come mid-season if nobody works out to go out there and make a move. And Breece Hall would be the perfect move to make because not only can he rush the ball, he rushed for over 800 yards last year, he's also a receiving back catching for over 400 yards last year, which of course got him to over 1,300 all-purpose yards, 85 yards per game, 8 touchdowns, 5 on the ground, 3 in the air, played all 16 games, had 209 rushing attempts, and he is a big playmaker. We saw it last year with the New York Jets, and we saw it at Iowa State. When he gets the ball in his hands, there is always a chance for him to get to the end zone. And for the Cowboys to have a playmaker like that, when you have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on the outside with Dak Prescott running the helm, that is going to be a very large thing that the Cowboys would love to acquire. Now, Breece Hall, obviously with a new head coach in New York, is in an interesting position. They have a couple of the running backs that they could fall to, but at the same time, the Cowboys are also in an interesting position because if you look at their two running backs, they haven't really put up any sort of big numbers. I mean, this is Javonte Williams. Never had a 1,000-yard season. His best year was his rookie year where he had 203 yards, averaged 4.4 per carry, and had 903 yards with 4 touchdowns. Since then, not the greatest. He got injured in 2022, only played 4 games, played 16 and 17 games the past 2 seasons, although last year his carries went way down as he was taken out of the RB1 role, had only 139 carries for 513 yards, and he still had 4 touchdowns, so he has the ability to go out there and be a good rusher, but I just don't trust it. And the Miles Sanders, we all know his story from Philadelphia where he was a 1,000-yard rusher, signed with Carolina in the past 2 seasons, has not amassed over 700 yards in a 2-season span. So that's something to be a little concerned about with Miles Sanders. Now, that's not to say that he can't come out here and perform like he did when he was in an Eagles jersey. The problem, though, is that running backs have a very short lifetime in the NFL, and Miles Sanders is reaching that short lifetime. And so you sit here as a Cowboys, and you're wondering, okay, how in the world can we go about getting somebody that would help this team? Well, that's where the Dallas Cowboys could go after Breece Hall. Here is the next quote. Bryce Lazenby of the Sporting News saying, quote, "Hall is a former second-round pick who has been solid, but not great in the NFL. Now Hall is slated to hit free agency next offseason, and the Jets could be looking to get some value in a trade. If they don't plan on re-signing him, Anthony Palacios of LWOS believes the Dallas Cowboys could be a logical landing spot for Breece Hall in a trade, end quote. Now, this came out recently that Breece Hall was going to be potentially on the trading block. In fact, in the offseason, there was a lot of talk of him being potentially traded, so much to the point that Aaron Glenn had to call Breece Hall. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but going back to Palacios and what he said on Breece Hall, here's the quote. Palacios of LWS saying, quote, "Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys have one of the worst running back units in football. Between Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, 2025 draft pick Jaydon Blue has a lot of them more upside to be the long-term deal in Dallas. This isn't to say Sanders or Williams don't have serious chance, but both are past their high level of play," end quote. And that goes back to me saying that the running back lifetime in the NFL has just gone down. I mean, right now, if you think about the long-term running backs in the NFL, there's really like only a couple names that come up. The main guy that I'm thinking of is Derrick Henry, which the Cowboys had a chance to sign, and they didn't go after him. Now, Tony Pollard, who did end up going to Tennessee, hasn't been the greatest signing there, so I'm not going to say that they made the wrong decision by not getting him. But it's just hard to look back on this team and knowing, especially how good it is right now, that if you just had a solid RB1, this team would be a lot more out in the media than it is at this current time. Now, I still expect the Cowboys to do very well this season, and I think they will be a very easy playoff team. However, I think they could maybe increase their chances to be a potential conference champion, potentially win in the NFC East if they're going out and get the running back. I know the Eagles are Super Bowl champions, but I just don't. I don't think that they are as good as people make them out to be, and I guess we'll find that out when it comes to we have the Thursday Night Football, of course. Now, Palacios continued on in his report saying, quote, "Perhaps they could trade for Hall to push the Cowboys if they find themselves in the thick of the playoff race," end quote. And that's where we kind of sit here. The two things that have to happen for a trade for Breece Hall. One, the Cowboys have to be good enough to be in the playoff race and looking to inquire about a new running back, which makes me also say that the running back room has to perform to the level that we're kind of expecting it to. Not be high level, not have a clear RB1, no one to stand out amongst the crowd. If Jaydon Blue, if Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, one of them pops out, even Phil Maffa, then in that case, they're not going to need a running back. That's number one. Number two, the Jets have to be out of the playoff race and understand that they are not going to re-sign Breece Hall. Which, why would they? Because, as I just showed kind of preemptively there, Braylon Allen, who was a rookie last year, a fourth-round pick out of Wisconsin, he's only like 20 years old. Like, he's 21 now. He's super young. And guess what? He had 334 yards and 92 carries last year and 2 touchdowns. That's not even to mention his receiving totals. They liked what he saw, and Aaron Glenn has mentioned multiple times how much he likes the ability of Braylon Allen and the potential for him to come out here and maybe take over that starting role, especially if they're not in the thick of the playoff race and they trade Breece Hall. Now, Bryce Laserby continues on in his report saying, quote, "In Dallas, Hall would likely take over the starting job, and the Cowboys would get the first chance to re-sign the running back when he hits free agency. Because of his expiring contract, the asking price from the Jets would likely wouldn't be exorbitant." Which is true. Nothing that the Jets would ask for would be that crazy at that point. He's on an expiring contract. If they're not in the playoff race and they know they have Braylon Allen behind him, why would they play Breece Hall? Now, I think Breece Hall is a little bit underrated to what the reports are coming out here saying. He hasn't been a good guy in the NFL. He hasn't been a long-term chance for a running back. I think he does. I think his rating is being very undervalued because he is a great receiving back. And in some ways, the Cowboys offense and the way that it's almost being constructed, Breece Hall would be a perfect fit with that receiving background. So I like the pick, but it's, again, all up to the Jets and the Cowboys and how their seasons kind of unfold, which is where we go to Aaron Glenn, because I mentioned in this report that this offseason, in fact, right before the NFL draft, the Jets were getting call after call after call for Breece Hall. So much so that Aaron Glenn himself, who had just been hired as the Jets head coach, called Breece Hall to tell him this, saying, quote, "I don't want to trade you. I want you to be here. You're going to be our running back," end quote. And so that makes it a little harder. That makes it to say, okay, the head coach wants Breece Hall as his running back. But it still doesn't take out the fact that if they are not in the playoff race, they're not going to keep him. And that's kind of the biggest thing. Now we go to the ESPN reporter here, Rich City of ESPN, saying, quote, "The Jets want to be a run-oriented offense, so it wouldn't have made sense to trade their most accomplished back. It could be a different story, though, around the midseason trading deadline. If they fall out of contention, Hall will be a prime candidate to be dealt, end quote. And that's always is. That's always how it is with this young running back, with young running backs, with guys on expiring deals. If we get to the midseason trading deadline, we have a guy behind you who we think is going to be a star or is capable of taking over the role as RB1, and we think you're not going to sign you, then yeah, we're going to trade you. We want some value back. And that's what the Jets are looking at right here. Now, the Jets have an interesting season. Justin Fields, Breece Hall, a new head coach. There's a lot of question marks there to the point where I don't see them being a team that is in playoff contention. I don't see them being a team that is not a trading team at the deadline. And so in that case, the Cowboys put some feelers out there. Go talk to Aaron Glenn. Go talk to the New York Jets. Say, hey, we were looking for a running back. We know Breece Hall. We know his situation. If you are willing to trade him, we are willing to give you a good package. He is on an expiring deal. The Cowboys really could use a long-term running back, especially with if they're able to land George Pickens on a long-term deal. It could make the Cowboys put into a Super Bowl window very, very quickly. Now, obviously, football, cap space, there's a lot of things that have to go into hand that, but it's able to be done. The Cowboys just got to move some stuff around and make it work. And honestly, for Jerry Jones, just be active. And that's what he's done this offseason, and I give him credit, but you have to continue to be active, and that does kind of start with signing Micah Parsons back. That does it for me, though, here on Cowboys Digest. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, I certainly do appreciate it, and you've obviously enjoyed the content enough to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I will see you later, saying peace out from Dallas.